Knowing the value of a played game is important for keeping score, and it is essential for bidding. Scott uses a bidding scheme to allow the player who promises the most expensive game to be the solo player. Before we start, be warned. The rules are complicated, require counting and multiplication. But it has been like this for more than 200 years, and it stood the test of time. So let's dive in right away. Game values follow a scheme. Let's see examples and we make sense of them in the rest of the movie. With 1, game 2 times yellow is 2 times 9, resulting in a game value of 18. Another example. Without 2, game 3, hand 4 times green is 4 times 11, or a game value of 44. And another one. With 3, game 4, poor 5, trickless 6 times rings is 6 times 24, or 144. In general, we use the game multiplier and some extra multipliers times the base value to compute the game value. Let's look at the game multiplier first. This one depends on what ring cards the solo player had in her 12 cards, 10 of her own and the 2 from the blind. The first question to always ask is, did she have the blue rings card? If so, it is with. Now you count how many ring cards she had in an uninterrupted sequence from the top. Here it is with 4. And then you just always count one more. With 4, game 5. Next example. She has the blue rings with. Now we count the consecutive ring cards from the top. 1, 2. Note that the red rings are missing, so the sequence is interrupted after 2. So it is with 2, game 3. Next example. Has the blue rings card with. We can only count 1 since the green rings are missing. With 1, game 2. It doesn't even matter whether she had or did not have the red rings or the yellow ring, all with 1. Another example, with 1, 2, 3, game 4. Next example. Did she have the blue rings card? No, so it's without. Then we count the ring cards that are all missing in an uninterrupted sequence from the top. 1, 2. Without 2, game 3. And an example without any ring cards. No blue rings, so it's without. How many consecutive? 1, 2, 3, 4. Game 5. And if you only have the green rings? Without 1, game 2. Also here it doesn't matter whether you have or did not have the red or the yellow rings. This is all without 1, game 2. And this is without 1, 2, game 3. And so is this. That's it. With or without, and how many consecutive. Next, extra multipliers. They are simply added to the game value by continuing to count one further for each situation that applies. Poor. If the game is lost with 30 or fewer points, it is called poor. Trickless. If the loser of the game didn't make any trick. This is for color games or ring games. Null games work differently. Hand. The solo player can choose to not pick up the blind and simply move the 2 cards into his trick pile without knowing what they were. By doing so, the extra multiplier hand is applied to the game value. Poor announced. If playing hand, the solo player can declare at the beginning of the game that she intends to play the others poor. Then she already loses if the opposing team score 31 points or more. Trickless announced. If playing hand, the solo player can promise to make every single trick, losing if this is not the case. And the last extra multiplier is ouvert. Here the solo player shows her cards openly to the opposing players during the game, starting before the first trick. Ouvert in color or ring games requires announcing trickless and is thus very rare. It is more common to occur in null games, where it is allowed even when not played hand. The last ingredient in the formula is the base value of games. Base values are easy. If you play yellow, then the base value is 9. If red was trumped, the base value is 10. If green was trumped, the base value is 11. And if blue was trumped, the base value is 12. Note how the colors go in the same order as the ring cards. And if rings were trumped, the base value is 24. That's it. Except that we forgot null games, which work completely differently. They are assigned fixed values. Null is 23, null hand is 35, null ouvert is 46, and null ouvert hand is 59. The Blue Rings deck comes with cards that help to remember all this, the general formula, examples and the fixed null values, a table that names the game multiplier based on what rings the solo player had, a card with a brief explanation of all the extra multipliers, and finally, a card with the base values and all the possible game values in order as they are used for bidding. There also is a letter-sized cheat sheet that you can print. It has the same information, card ranks and points, a summary of how to determine game values, and the null values together with a bidding order. That's it. I know these are many seemingly arbitrary rules, but they do help to balance the bidding in a really interesting way. The next and last movie explains the bidding phase.